Sorry. I'm sorry. Hey guys, welcome to episode 18 of the Comic Book Crowd. We've got a great crowd here today. We have Matt Woods Comics, Alan from Climbing Comics, Pretty Fly for a Filipino guy, and that Shazammy person, Dave Braden. How you guys doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about modern classics. I'm sorry. We were all in the green room earlier, and we're having a good time.
We were.
Yeah. It was really
I'm still kind of laughing about it, so I'm sorry about that, guys. But I won't think about any of that anymore. Okay. All right. So why don't we see who we've got here with us today or tonight? All right. So we have, starting off, Madam Blaster. How you doing, Madam? Good to see you.
Hey, Madam.
Right, perfect. Let's see who else we've got here coming up. We have Steve White. Steve, my man. Good evening to you. That's Steve, all right. And we have the man with all the knowledge here, Chuck Hensey. Hey, Chuck. Chuck was
smartest man in comics.
Definitely. He had him and Mark on my live espresso mail call, and they did a great job. Who else? Chop and Drop. How you doing, Chop? Thank you for coming here this evening and checking us out. All right. Who else we have? Chuck. We got him already. And there's Chop again. Ooh. We have the OG, Tina. Tina is here. How you doing, Tina? Good to see you here. Who else? I saw a couple other people here. Yep. Wellbore. Yes, you stumbled across us. Hopefully you didn't skin your knee when you did so. All right, let's see who else we have here. I think I saw a couple of more people down here. Yes, here's Todd, Turbo Man Todd. Yes. Who's in the Anachronic? We only got cool people in the Anachronic chat. Yes.
Always the best.
Always the best, no doubt about it.
High quality people.
And let's see. Melodope Comics. Yes. Hello, Joe and everyone. Hand Purple Blue Peace. Yes. Peace to you, my friend. Peace to you, my friend. It's like the way they do that. They explain what it is rather than show it to you, you know? And who else? Sith Lordly, Spine Ticks. So I'm gonna try. Last week when I put you on, I watched and I said hi to you, and then I fell asleep. Sorry about that. I'm gonna try to stay up until midnight at least. I try to make at least an hour on Saturday night to watch Spine Ticks on Saturday night. It's a great show. You got to watch it. The only issue is it takes them 30 minutes to get so many people watching. It takes them 30 minutes to get through the hellos. No such thing here in this show. We get through it pretty quickly. All right. So we got Spine Ticks, Melodope. Anybody else? I don't want to miss anybody as we start off. Madam is back. We got that. Hold everything.
Oh, no.
Doug Braden.
You don't have to acknowledge Doug. It's cool.
Tina's my. Dave. He says Tina's his favorite. What the heck?
Because Tina's everybody's favorite. Because Tina's awesome.
Okay.
So
I got it. I got it.
I cannot disagree with Doug at
all.
all.
Disagree with that? Okay.
No.
Yeah. You got Tina and Matt. I stuck around because of them. Because
everybody else.
Yeah. Because when I started going on the chat, they were so welcoming. It's like,
yeah. Signature King. This is a new one for me. Thanks for coming by. Signature King. Very good.
Welcome.
Thank you. Welcome, Mac. Absolutely. One of my faves, Gary B, the casual comic guy. Now, if you guys watch
comics,
a couple of Gary's shows ago, I can't remember which one it was. I gave him a $2 whatchamacallit, whatever, if he would take off his shirt. And he did take off his shirt. So,
that doesn't sound creepy at all.
It doesn't, but Gary was a good sport with that.
Remember that the talk that we had?
Yeah, exactly. Joe.
Wait, was that his YouTube channel or OnlyFans?
No.
Which one was it, Joe?
Yeah.
I just never noticed your name before. My bad. I'm sorry about that, Signature King. But thanks for being here.
Signature King's been around.
Yeah. Good to be here. Okay, I think we got through everybody in the chat. Thanks you, everybody, for showing up. I think this is going to be a really cool show. Not only because we have Matt Woods, Alan, Pretty Fly, and Dave, because that will be enough for anybody to come and watch this show. But we have a great topic. I forgot who came. Oh, this was Pretty Fly came up with the topic. That's why he's here.
No. It's the person next to me.
Oh, it was Dave. Dave came up with the topic. Thanks.
That's all right.
No,
Don't worry about it, Joe.
Oh,
Oh yeah, you're not insulted that your brother thinks Team is his favorite, but you're insulted that I forgot that you came up with the topic.
Oh, I'm gonna
Anyway.
remember this for a long time, Joe.
Gary, we love you, my friend. We love you. You're the best. There you go. There you go. How do you guys feel about that? Now I said Gary's the best. Anyway, all right. So the topic tonight is modern comics. So we're categorizing that as anything from the year 2000 on that are classics. Turban Man, I don't need espresso. I just finished my espresso. I had it beforehand, So now I got some water in my special cup here. Oh,
Same
look at
here.
that cup that Pretty Fly has. Pretty Fly, gotta go like this.
Mine's
Segue.
upstairs. Mine's
DC
upstairs.
Watch.
I should have brought it.
Nice.
Oh man.
now we know who's gonna be fired on the next episode.
I
I know. Yes, Pretty
By the
Fly,
way,
you can tell.
I'll-
You can tell.
Do you have a cup with your name on it, Matt?
I do.
Holy
Mr. Woods.
narcissist.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Those
Check
teachers,
that out.
those teachers,
I'm drinking to myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Final exams are coming in,
Hey,
kids.
Mark.
Final
Good to see you,
exams are
Mark.
coming in. It's final.
Yes,
season.
we need presents.
Yeah. All right, let's get started here. So it's modern comics that we all consider classics. Now, we could talk about a series, we could talk about a particular comic, or maybe even a cover. So we're going to leave it up to everybody, and we're going to go through. Hopefully, everybody will get through their list, except that I think Pretty Fly has a list of about 10, and Alan has a list of about 20. But we said everybody should try to keep it to 3. All right. So we're going to do it as round robin to start off with. So Alan, we're going to put you in the big seat right off to start off with, and we'll ask you to start. Okay.
Awesome.
So what do you got,
So,
Alan? You got anything we can
I'm gonna-
disagree with?
No, so my
Ooh.
first modern classic
Wow, slideshow.
is House of X and Powers of 10. So the
What a
reason I
good-
chose this is I got into comics at this time, but if you see the panel on the very right, it kind of shows all of the different X-Men throughout the different storylines that Jonathan Hickman didn't even write, and he validated them. He basically made like all the history of X-Men like valid and part of this new story that he's kind of building off of.
Gold balls.
Of course,
Alan?
I love Pepe Larraz, so that's also why I
Yeah.
chose this. What were you saying? Yeah,
I was gonna say he validated gold balls in that series.
he did. He did. He made him part, like an essential part of the
Yeah.
resurrection. So the reason why I think this is a classic is because it kind of is a bridge between all of the previous X-Men stories to all of the future X-Men stories, and he's left a lot of strings throughout House and Powers that all of the current writers could like kind of pull on. Like he takes little tidbits from all of the different older storylines pre-2000, and any writer could just like pull on those strings. So that's kind of why I'm thinking this is a really, really recent like book, but I think it will be a classic in days to come.
When was this book? When did this book come out, or this series, whatever?
I think this came out in 2018,
Okay.
2019.
It's very recent. Yeah.
Very recent. Yeah.
Well,
And
So
I-
this
I
is
have to
my
tell you-
my first book.
I have to tell you
And,
something. I know nothing about the X-Men, the recent X-Men stuff. I don't, I
Oh.
haven't read any of that stuff. So I don't know if anybody else thinks this is good. Do we give him a thumbs up on this?
Yeah, totally.
Two
And also
thumbs
jump-
up.
And also
Thumbs
jump
up,
in,
okay.
Alan,
Yeah.
Yeah.
this series also kind of like switched up the X-Men, like because for a while X-Men were getting kind of stagnant and same old X-Men, but
Yeah.
Hickman really did a number on the X-Men. And obviously with changes, people are gonna detract, or find it exciting. But yeah, this series really like reinvigorated, I think, the X-Men, spawning off thousands of other titles. So much so I kind of dropped it because it was like too much to keep up.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
But that's what happens. I've heard a lot of writers that put this stuff together and come up with something really good, and then a few years down the road, it gets destroyed by the next writers that come in there. I mean, and I don't know if that's the editors or the writers or whatever it happens to be. So it's something that happens to
Yeah.
everybody there.
Yeah.
So
And I love the cover on the left, Alan. It kind of reminds me of Giant Size. I think it's like an homage to Giant Size, like because Giant Size
yeah.
was also kind of like, here's the new X-Men.
Yeah.
And I think this is kind of like a good take on that. Not like an obvious homage, but I think for me it's like, here's the new X-Men, you know.
Yeah, breaking through. I like that.
Yeah, it's kind of, instead of like the page, it's like the Krakoa portal, you know,
Mhm.
plant portal thing. So,
Oh, yeah. This is the first book where I felt like I needed to sit in my car outside of the
Oh, yeah.
LCS to read the book. This is
Yeah.
the first time ever
Yeah,
I got
same
that
here.
feeling where I'm like, I need to know what's happening.
yeah,
I couldn't wait
yeah.
till I got home. Yeah.
And you
It was
had
one
to
of those
know
types of
that
books.
the series went back and forth between two titles.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was cool.
Well, Signature King, you don't know. That still might come up because we have a few more to go. So, Alan, it looks.
I'll mention it.
I knew you would. So, Alan, it looks like. I mean, I have to go with this. Looks like you have a winner there. So, good job for
Yes.
number one.
Job, Al.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, I think Pretty Fly, we're going to put you on the hot seat here now. What do you got for us?
Well, I don't have a cool slide like
Pretty sexy Fly.
since we were talking about 2000s and on,
Right.
one of the things that kind of like came up to mind is this cover, and because of the writer and the artist, kind of ushered in the new millennium. So, so this
Ooh.
That's a great
yeah.
cover, yeah.
Jim
Yeah.
Lee magic.
Yeah. Not, because to me, like, I think this came out 2001. But I think the issue came out maybe a year later. Maybe he finished it 2001, but I'm sure, the actual book came out later. But I'm just saying, like, it's the beginning of the new millennium, so and you got a new villain, Hush, and if I remember correctly, I think Danny O'Neill was retiring around that time. So you kind of felt like this delineation or a segmentation from, like, I don't want to say the old comics, but I'm saying like the classic.
Changing of the guard.
Yeah, pretty much, like, because after this, you got,
Not big.
Grant, even though he worked on like in the 90s, but Grant Morrison did some of his best Batman runs after 2000s, and Scott Snyder and all this new blood. Obviously, they stood on the shoulders of the giants like Neil Adams and Danny O'Neill, and Marshall
Those are
Rogers.
broad shoulders. Those are broad shoulders.
Yes. So to me, that's why I kind of, as my first book, I kind of want to show this, because I think that's when I see it, that's what it kind of means to me, like the current modern. And also, I gotta show this off because Dave here hooked me up with this book. So this was my last. Yeah, he didn't buy it or anything, but
that wasn't an A-OK.
Yeah. Oh, it's not a reprint either. It's not a
Page puncher.
It's not a page puncher.
Yeah.
But I mentioned that this was my last Grail because I have like a set of books that I really wanted for my collection. And actually, a lot of them are, if not all of them, are on this wall right there. I took some down because I'm going to talk about them. But yeah, this is like the last one I couldn't find because I wanted because I wanted a rock version because a lot of it's slabbed, and I got it for a great price. When I was talking about it, Dave found it in his LCS Dewey Comics, and he told me about it. So I was like, for how much? Are you sure that's what he wants? But yeah. So thanks, Dave.
You're very
awesome.
So it's hard to find this book in raw and good condition, because I like it raw. So
good. What do you guys think about that one? Everybody's saying that the DC Watch guys, the DC Watch guys are only going to have DC Comics, and that's not going to happen. Guys. It's not going to happen.
Oh man!
All right,
Lenny.
So it's not going to happen. All right, so I think Dave, I think you're up next, right? Let's get you there.
And
I can't say H seat anymore because I have to pay Gary every time I do that because of his show.
So I saw Mark Andrews' comment about his assumption that mine's going to be a DC book, and Mark, you're half right. So the one I picked, I actually I had a big list, and a ton of honorable mentions, and the one I chose to lead off with, I actually don't think its plot is quite as good as many of the others that I actually didn't select. And so you might be like wondering, well, why'd you pick it? Because it's JLA Avengers.
Ooh.
This is the
Yeah.
hard slipcase.
Speaking of going back and forth.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I mean, the story's good, but it's not like all-time classic special. The villain Krona isn't necessarily A-list. The story has a lot of, the character searching after items of power, which is a throwback to, a lot of earlier comic stories. So it's not exactly exploding with originality, and some of it's very reminiscent of Crisis on Infinite Earths. But so now that I've kind of like said, well, maybe why it couldn't be, look, there are a lot of reasons I think it is. It's the JLA and the Avengers together with a good story, phenomenal character moments, and moments between DC and Marvel icons that we may never see again. It's drawn by George Perez, the perfect artist for this. I mean,
the late great.
Yes. And for anyone watching and for anyone here, it's arguable who your favorite artist is. I get that. Taste is subjective. But I'd be stunned if George Perez isn't in everyone's top 3 or top 5. Right. When I was growing up, he was the artist I tried to mimic and draw like. So you have all these incredible moments, in this book. You have, hold on here, I'll get there. You got Superman getting hit in the face by Mjolnir. I mean, you've got Batman and Captain America sizing each other up, and you have Superman leading the entire group into battle.
There it is.
That is
with
epic.
Cap shield while wielding Mjolnir, because Thor tosses it.
I love that cover.
Like, he's worthy. He's worthy.
Yeah.
It's so fantastic. There are all these great moments, and there's some really powerful scenes in this book. At one point, their realities are sort of combined and merged, and they're resetting reality. But before they do it, they see what their reality actually looks like. And that includes a lot of painful moments for all of them, like Hal Jordan losing his mind, Scarlet Witch losing her children, Superman dying at the hands of Doomsday. It's just some really moving, cool moments. And, they have that scene before when they go into battle where they're talking with each other. It's got some great moments. No matter who you like, they're in here. You know what I'm saying? For the most part. And, no matter who you think the world's greatest superheroes are, they're in this book. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's a good story, great character moments, iconic things we may never see. Drawn by the inimitable George Perez, who is perfect for this. So this is for every kid who pulled out all their action figures, didn't care whether they're DC, didn't care if they were Marvel, and just got them from the toy box and had a lot of fun. So that's why I chose JLA Avengers.
That's a great book, Dave.
Yeah, do you know when it was a series of, what was it, 4 books or something like that?
4 comics,
4 comics. Approximately when did they come out?
2004, I believe it kicked off, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. But the cool thing about the books, since you brought them up, Joe, is like, because one issue would be DC, the other issue would be Marvel. Mm-hmm. They would go back and forth. That's why I said earlier, speaking of back and forth, because that's how Hawks and Pox was too, like the storyline jump back and forth. And that's cool because, there's hope in humanity when you got Marvel, DC working together. So I have hope for humanity.
And I think that was the last time, if I remember correctly. I don't think they've done a project like this.
But knowing the history of the two companies, man, it's a miracle that happened.
It's because of George. Because of George Perez. That they didn't want to do anything, but they're like, we've got to do this for George.
Right.
Because for those of you, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, he was working on it in the 80s, and they pulled the plug on it. They pulled the rug out from under him. So 20 years later, he actually got to do it.
Yeah. And I love Stan, but it's no amalgam. So sorry, Stan.
Yeah.
I love you, Stan, but Darklaw.
All right, Mr. Woods, you're up. What do you got for us?
Ooh,
Ooh, you know, I've been debating, okay, especially which book to show first because there's so many great books. I have so many, like other people said, so many, honorable mentions and B-rolls. And listen, I definitely have a reputation with some people, and I will argue that it is completely not true, but some people think that I'm against DC. Not going to say any names, but anyhow, just all joking. But this next book that I'm going to show is Teen Titans 13. Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay.
nice.
this is the first appearance of arguably, in my opinion, like one of the most exciting bad guys, villains to come around probably since Venom in 1988. Now, I mean, somebody's going to throw out a name there, but I really think that the Batman Who Laughs is such a dope character. And let's not lie, it's Joker rebranded, and they took a little bit of Batman, but he's still really cool because he has this cosmic aspect to him, and there's some spin-off villains that have come off of him, like Goblin King and some others, but it is really exciting watching some of the or reading some of the new Batman Who Laughs stories. And I think in 2019, 2020, he was the biggest thing going for DC. I mean, every LCS had giant Batman Who Laughs like posters up and stuff. So it really was a big deal. And honestly, I just absolutely love that villain.
That whole series. I mean, I got every book in the series, starting with the kind of the prequels, whatever you want to call them. And some of those covers on those were just amazing throughout. And the thing was, there were so many different characters that came in. The Robin characters, and the
Red
Bat,
Flash
the other,
too.
that one cover. Who was that covered by? I wish I was in New York because I would have pulled out the books, but I don't have the books here. But there's not that cover, but the cover with the Flash character.
I think
there was the variant.
I think.
Who?
Greg Capullo?
It might have been.
Was it? Okay.
I paid a few extra bucks for that.
It was. You're right, Lenny.
It was really just an amazing cover on that. But the storyline was just kind of kept going on, and you just wondered where it was going to end,
So you guys saying it's a classic, right? And it's a one shot, and it's post 2000.
That's what we're saying.
That's what we're saying.
I don't think you can count that as a one shot.
I definitely don't. I mean,
it's part of a larger story. I mean,
yes,
it is, but his origin story is just one comic book. And
well, you only have an origin in one
half
comic.
of that one to you, Lenny.
Once you have your origin, it's in one comic, and after that, you don't have another origin.
Year one is like, how many issues is year one?
4.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean,
That's
it's what
an origin story.
Part of a larger whole, but that's an important
guys.
issue,
This is because before we got here, we were arguing whether or not you can have a
discussing, Joe.
Okay, sorry.
Cursing each other out like sailors.
We were discussing whether or not you can have a modern classic that's a one shot, and we were saying
there good.
There weren't very many one shots around there.
Yeah. But anyhow, that is my pick.
Okay.
There you go, Matt.
I give it a thumbs up.
Yep.
Okay, we give you a thumbs up. So
I'll give it a thumbs down.
2 thumbs up for Matt because he hates DC. So having that one of his picks,
I'd encourage him.
Yes. I do not dislike DC. I love DC.
He doesn't. All right, so mine is going to block out Matt Woods. I put him in the middle on purpose because I don't have my books here, so I had to kind of do it this way. So my first one.
Let me stand on this side.
You're getting better with that arrow.
Move over quick. My first one is All-Star Superman. Okay, and with respect to All-Star Superman, I've always discussed the fact that Superman, because of his strength and powers, and because of his intense morality, it's difficult for writers to write about him. Mm-hmm. But I think here, Grant Morrison with Frank Lightly doing the artwork really kind of hit a home run on that. They went ahead and they got Batman. They had All-Star Batman first, but Superman they just went out and they just kind of hit during the 12 issues that came out. They kind of hit on all of the different mystiques of Superman. And they went through each one of these different things. And I have to tell you, the emotion I felt on this was amazing. So, I mean, it was just a bunch of different things that happened here. I don't want to give away the story too much, but the issue really has to do with Superman trying to fulfill certain things because of his feeling that he may not be around anymore, and how the Earth is going to exist essentially without him here to protect it. And he decides he's going to go through 12 different feats. I think they call them the 12 labors of Superman. And each one is basically, one of the issues that's there. So they are pretty much self-contained stories with a thread that goes through them. And as the thread goes through them, you see it building towards the finale. And if you've watched the animated film, which was in 2011, it's not the whole thing. Yeah. It's not the whole story. It's probably the major part, with Luthor at the end having kind of this realization and everything, which is just, that was an amazing thing in the story. When I first read it, I said, oh my God, that's just amazing. But the thing about this is, I mean, Alan, you spoke about the X-Men comic book because it was kind of like your deal. And I think I might have said this before to people, but when I stopped reading comics and I started again, I forget, around 2006 or 7, whenever this came out, I was in the Empire State Building and came, to go to there to get something in a store. And across the street, there was a comic book shop. And I had some time and I said, oh, let me go in. I haven't been in see what this is about. And this caught my eye. This book caught my eye. I didn't buy it right then. But the next day I went back up there, looked at it again, and I bought it. Yeah. And it kind of hooked me back in. Nice. And so to me, cool. I mean, his interaction with Lois during that time, I mean, when he saved the little girl who was going to jump off the building, and really even like Lois pining for him at the end, I mean, to me, it just was just the quintessential Superman story. And it wasn't in any kind of continuity, as I remember, the All-Star Comics thing allowed certain creators to go ahead and take a character and just kind of do what they wanted with the character. Yeah. And Grant Morrison just did a fantastic job on this. And so that's why it's my first one that I picked. Yeah. So I don't know if anybody else kind of agrees or doesn't agree with this, but
that was on my list, Joe.
Yeah, it was on the list.
Great one.
And we'll see what James Gunn will do with that story.
Yeah. Well,
what kind of inspiration?
I don't know if he's going to do
inspirations. Yeah. No one does. Yeah.
Anyway, so that's my first one. I think it's a
good pick, Joe.
I think it's a good one. Thank you. All right. So Jackson Roy Cork is here. Oh, there he is.
Hello.
Oh, this is a good one. I go through the 12 flavors with that.
He is my personal troll, okay?
One day we have to have Woods versus Roy Kirk or something and see what the heck happens with that.
He is such a good dude, but he is definitely my best troll. In a good way. He's a really great guy. But good. Hey, Joe, I wanted to give a shout out to the Signature King from Harrisburg. I'm not far from Altoona, Signature King. He told me where he was from.
Okay, great.
Nice, super close. Nice.
Yep.
So right. I guess I'm next, Joe.
Yeah, let's get you up there.
Yeah, so this is a perfect
in the warm seat. Let's get you up in the warm.
This is the warm seat. This is a perfect segue because I'm going to throw something out there that I'm not sure if everyone kind of will see this as a modern classic, but because this was one of my first books getting back into comics in like 2018. This is a book from like 2013. I thought this was a very cool way to show the new, like, how DC was at that point, right? Because I was getting reintroduced to all of the characters. Yes. And this is a very different way, very different way to look at Superman, and a very different way to look at how he's superhumanized. How would people act if they had that much power but so much loss? And everyone, like year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, they went through all of the different characters and different genres within the DC universe, right? Through the magic, through like the different gods, through like the normal street hero characters. There was so many different. I don't want to like ruin this for everyone, but essentially it's in the first issue. But Superman kind of goes kind of bad in a certain way. He's trying to take control of things, and everyone is trying to like take sides between, you could see here, Superman and Batman. I thought this was a really cool way to like take all of the good guys and like kind of split them up, make teams, and see how people would be able to like react in new situations, right? Because through the animated series, through all the shows, through all of the previous storylines I've read, I didn't see anything like this before. So I thought this was like a very like classic, more so because this is kind of twisting everything on its head kind of thing for me.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Even the reason why Superman snapped, I'm not going to spoil it, but you can see why Superman snaps.
And that one panel where he does what he does is almost kind of scary, you know, if you take a look at that, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Now, Alan, did you know about this from the game or from just happenstance? Or
just by happenstance? I actually never played the game before this, but this is one of those books also where it was a page turner for me. I think the books I'm super attracted to are just like very like page turner type books where
Tom Taylor,
I need to know what happens.
Whatever happened to Tom Taylor? Did he write anything else?
Deceased.
I'm kidding. Yeah, he's
okay.
Yeah. No. He's no.
You're being rhetorical.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got a winner there, Alan, I think.
You do.
So,
Yeah.
Thank you.
before we go to Pretty Fly, I did say we were going to give something away. So why don't we get that started? I've got here, I'll make myself big here. I have here one of the, where is it? Here it is. I have here one of,
Oh, let me stop sharing my screen.
Get rid of that, Alan.
Yeah.
I have here an official, I'm gonna hit comic book crowd mug. All right. And so while we listen to Mr. Woods give his, here we go. All right. If you want to potentially win that mug, this is what you have to put in the comment area. #classic. All right. #classic.
It looks like that Anachronic Comics guy put it down first, Joe.
Yeah, I know.
He's the winner.
I want it. I don't have one.
Yes.
You just saved a few bucks on shipping.
Way to go, Joe. Congratulations.
It game's rigged.
You guys are crazy. I'm telling you right now. All right. Who's up next? Pretty Fly.
Pretty fly.
All right.
No.
So,
Pretty Fly. Pretty Fly.
Is it Pretty Fly?
I
Yeah.
thought it was Pretty Fly, but I
Yeah,
saw
that's
my
what I was
face up
gonna
there.
I'm a little bit whacked out, guys. That's it.
All good. All
The
good.
espresso is running out.
I told you Joe, I told you to stop partying late at night, especially before a show. Right?
Down here in
Jeez.
Florida, the partying is exhausting. I'm telling you, there's a party every
Come
friggin'
on.
night.
Yeah. Gotta take responsibility here. All right. Well, my next pick, this one, to me, it means a lot because it's what got me back into comics. Because like it was like a trifecta of having a good job and having more disposable income, and I bought an iPad, and then digital comics came out. So this is my welcome back to reading to the hobby, which is
Nice.
Scott Snyder's. Well, actually, the whole New 52. Since this represents the New 52 because it's a good jumping point for readers because it's pretty much really like a new. It's not so much new, but it's more like, for me, when I started reading these, it's like a deeper look at a deeper look at the characters that I grew up knowing. For example, Alan, are you still reading Court of Owls?
I finished it in like 2 days. It was so
That's
good.
such a fantastic story.
It is.
Right.
Fantastic story.
But Scott Snyder, like was able to explore Batman, like
Mhm.
like in his hubris. Like, you think you know Gotham? You think you
Yeah.
know your ward? Well, I won't spoil it, but so
It's
so
one
when
of
I
the
was
best. That's one of the
yeah,
best.
so when I was reading, it's like,
Snyder
wow,
things.
I was like, this is what comics are now, And then like was it one of the issues where like 4 or 5? It was like Alan, it was in that Maze issue where you had to like turn the book a certain way. Do you remember that too?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
I
so
forgot
I was
which
like,
issue
wow,
that was.
like comics are so are more than just like, when I read them, it was just like, I mean, they were still fun and interesting, but it was because of like, oh, it has Batman, it has cool drawings of Batman. And even
Right.
back then, when I started reading comics, I couldn't get comics all the time because I couldn't afford it. And then what got me through, even during college, were like the golden age of like DC animated cartoons. That kind of kept me interested in these characters. But then now when I got back, because now Comixology, you can read comics on your iPad. You don't have to, that's why I started really getting back into comics. And and it got me reading, like, because I went backwards from the New 52. Then I started reading, exploring, like I discovered Hush, and then going back to
Right.
like the Cult, and so it even broadened my my love for the character.
That time
And
when Grant Morrison came in and then into Scott Snyder, not everything was great, but they had so many good stories.
But it was so interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was interesting. Like, Damien, right?
Yeah,
His Live and Death.
that was going to be one of mine, but I didn't pick
Spoilers.
it. I didn't pick it.
But like you got to. It's just so interesting. Like, even like there was a Jonah Hex book where he was like hunting giant bats, and it turned out all these bats lived in this big cave.
Mhm.
And it turns out it was Batman's cave. It would be the Batman's cave, So it's like, it was cool stuff like that. And psychologically too, it's like Scott Snyder was kind of like a Grant Morrison kind of writer, where you actually kind of like, you got to look deeper. And maybe because I've grown up and I appreciate all the depth that I was seeing in the pages, versus when I was a kid. Oh, hey, Rogue looks kind of hot on that Kubert cover. Let me get it. It was like, so yeah. So that's why I kind of picked this, because it was my jumping back, and it helped
Excellent.
me. And then with digital, I got to read more books, and gave me a broader appreciation and history and all that good fun stuff.
Right.
Cool.
Very
Okay, so let's just do this. All right. So we've got the 13 people and 10 entries. Some people just came in. It's #classic. If you want to, whoops, sorry, I just banged into my microphone. Hopefully it still works. If you want to win this wonderful comic book crowd mug, all right. Hey, I buy these things. They're not cheap, guys. So yeah, I do this for you, not for me. I got my
It's all for the
mug already.
fans.
What a good guy.
Joe, I already got a good mug.
I like your approach. Scold them while you give one out.
Well, I want more entries. Come on. I want more entries. All right, so we'll give you like we'll have to pick it out here. Yeah, thanks, Turbo Man Todd. It says it's a wonderful mug. All right, so let's do the drawing here. I'll give you like a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, 10 entries. You got a good chance. Here we go. And the winner is, if it's me, I'm giving it back. Steve White.
Steve White.
There you
Steve!
go.
All right, Steve.
Nice.
Nice job, Steve.
Congrats, Steve.
Bravo.
All right, Steve.
Awesome.
I'm not sure I have your stuff, Steve. So if I don't, maybe you could just send me an email. It's just anachroniccomics@gmail.com. anachroniccomics@gmail.com, and I'll send the mug out to you as soon as I can. Okay. This is your mug, Steve. No lips have touched this mug. just want you to know that. All right.
Joe's gonna like start licking it.
It's brand new.
Brand new.
Why am I so silly tonight? I don't understand it. What's
I don't
going
know.
on?
I don't know.
It was that party from last
The
night.
allergy meds.
What were
kicking
you
The
in.
allergy meds. Yeah, I'm on meds, and you drink a little something and the meds, and you just go completely bananas. All
right. So
All right,
before,
Dave.
what I'm going to do is I'm going to show a comic book cover that I think is a modern classic. But
Yes.
before I do that, Mark Andrews made a comment about me having DC stuff, and you're right. From here on out, it's all DC, Mark. But in my honorable mentions, you can freeze frame.
There you go.
There's a bunch of Marvel in there, so it's not
Yes.
all DC.
Court of Owls.
But this
Some Marvel.
But this cover, it won't surprise anyone who knows me. I just think this is one of the best
Lick it.
one of the best pieces of work by one of the
Ah.
best artists in comics.
Did you draw that?
Oh,
Did you draw that?
I attempted
did
to.
you?
It looks
Dave,
familiar.
that's an homage of something you drew, Dave.
That's right.
I think you're right. I think, yeah, I did this before Alex Ross. But
Alex who?
it's one of the greatest works of comic art by one of its greatest artists, in my opinion. So that makes it a classic. And I think the market spoke about this one too. This comic is sought after. It's a 1 in 10 variant. Okay, so it's a little harder to get, but people want this cover because it's this gorgeous, dynamic explosive Alex Ross cover. It's a phenomenal image. It captured, Black Adam's rage. It's just, the composition's amazing. It's a close up, but not super close. It's just the lightning. It's just gorgeous. It's a beautiful piece. So I think I wanted to pull this as a classic cover. And it's going for less now. I mean, Black Adam didn't do very well, and the market is dropping or correcting. So, if you're looking for it, you can get it a little cheaper than I got it a couple of years ago. So,
Yeah.
it's
It's a
that's
great
my
cover,
classic cover.
for sure. It's a great
Mhm.
cover. That's for sure. Especially since it's an homage to your cover. So
Yeah.
I believe everything that Matt Woods says, so I have to go with that. All right, Matthew, I believe you are up.
All these books that everybody is picking are absolutely all amazing, okay? And one thing I'm noticing every book has in common is at least some DC. And the only one that has any Marvel is the JLA Avengers, okay? Now,
Alan, X-Men.
Alan, yeah.
yeah. Well, the book we started off with, I did forget about X-Men.
That's why he's not a part of DC Watch.
We've been having so many
Oh.
DC.
You're not DC
that's
Watch
a
material, Alan.
That's a testament to how much quality DC is putting into their art and their writers are putting into the book. So there's a lot of talent over there at DC. But let's not forget about the other one of the big two. There is another publisher out there called Marvel.
Whoa.
I pick for a modern classic is a Donny Cates classic. Okay, now back in the day, this book everybody was trying to get their hands on it. This was Thanos 13. This is the first appearance of the Cosmic Ghost Rider, which is Frank Castle. Being the being the herald of Galactus. What an amazing little story this is. This character, I think, has a lot of room to grow. He's got a lot of places to be. I don't think we're done seeing the Cosmic Ghost Rider in comic books. He's got a lot of, there's so much potential to this story. And while this book has definitely cooled off, I do think that we will see this again. Donny Cates has done some amazing things in comic books, definitely with the Knoll storyline and Venom. Honestly, I never really enjoyed Venom until Donny Cates took over. I mean, Venom was a good bad guy, but he wasn't a good standalone character, at least in my opinion. But Donny Cates made him interesting. Donny Cates made Thor super interesting, and Thor's always been pretty cool to me. But I can see something happening with this.
Cool.
Okay.
That's awesome. Thumbs up
Sounds
to the
good.
pick.
Thumbs up, Matt.
Thumbs up.
Is,
for
is
Matt.
that an all right Marvel book to show?
Yes.
Yeah.
For a
But,
Marvel
yes.
book.
I was
but,
afraid I was getting kicked off. Thanks, Dave, for a Marvel book.
I'm
But-
kidding. I'm kidding.
I know,
like
I
Marvel too. So,
but this one is better.
Uh-oh.
those are fighting words.
Yeah.
Planet
Oh, what? Book.
Planet Hulk. Now, I have to say, I love the Hulk. I tried to pick him up with respect to what it was that I just was something I remembered back some of the old Hulk things that I had, the old Avengers and all that. And when I saw this, it just intrigued me because of the way he was, I don't know, dressed and everything like that.
Yeah.
To me, it was so it kind of caught my interest. I think I have a few other things here, yeah. So I could bring these up here.
That's a great read.
So it was a great read, and the thing about maybe it's because of my again the story was a great story. It reminded me of like when I was a kid and went to some of the Cecil B. DeMille kind of movies, the big movies like the Ten Commandments and Spartacus and all the rest of this type of stuff. Because I took with him, and when you go through it, it was kind of that typical type of story. But the key here was that he was misunderstood. He always was misunderstood. So it was kind of a throwback to what I remember about Hulk, where people always saw him as being kind of this, terrible monster. But there was more to him than that. He was trying to deal with what he needed to deal with. I'm not talking about Bruce Banner. I'm talking about actually the Hulk that's there. And he goes to this planet, and suddenly he becomes something he was never on Earth. He becomes a hero. He becomes a hero to these people, liberates them from a despot, right? Marries a woman from that planet, has a child. I mean, he has everything going for him. He becomes the leader of everybody, and then, in typical fashion for the Hulk, things go south. I won't say exactly what happens. I want people to read it, and it ends up with him coming back to Earth and all hell breaking loose, which is the second part of the whole story, which I thought was also pretty good. But the Planet Hulk part of it was something that really struck me as being, again, kind of an emotional tug. And I felt good for the Hulk. I felt really good. And I wondered how they were going to screw this up for him. And of course, he did get screwed up. But as it went along, it was kind of an exciting and interesting story. How he, first time when he was there, he just didn't want anything to do with anybody. He was there accidentally, basically. And he suddenly just kind of saw that his strength was something that the people needed. And he kind of became endeared to the people and became their hero. It was an amazing story for me. So I think that's definitely a modern classic in my book.
Joe?
And it's a Marvel story.
It is a Marvel. But
yeah,
hey,
that's a great
Richard
choice.
Heath is asking if Planet Hulk is a trade paperback. Yes, it is, Richard. It is an amazing story. It's actually one of the highest selling trade paperbacks from that era.
There's one problem, Joe. That book came out in 1999.
No, it was 2000.
I'm kidding.
Wait, no, it
I was
didn't.
trying to rain on your parade because that's a
Come
great
on.
choice, Joe. That's
I
a
checked them
great
all
choice.
out.
That one I did
double-checked
not
the
see
dates
coming,
on it.
and as soon as you said it, I'm like, of course, what a great choice. Awesome.
It's funny
Awesome.
you also mentioned that because there's one of the current Superman runs, Action Comics, kind of copied Planet Hulk, but they made a badass Superman from it.
They did. They did. Yeah.
That's cool.
That is by far my favorite storyline of the Hulk in history of Hulk and comics. I just thought that was so well written and so well done. Great choice.
Did you guys like Immortal? Al Ewing's.
I got to read it.
Yeah.
I've read the
Yeah, it's
first
good.
shade or two.
Very
I'd
good.
like to read it, but it's a lot.
Yeah. Because I was reading it too, but I got to get back to it.
Yeah.
Planet Hulk was awesome. I remember back, I think I read it when it came out. I think I read it in like a Barnes and Noble or a Borders when they were still around. I just sat down and
Borders,
started
wow.
reading
You
it.
sat down and
and I
read it
didn't
for
leave.
free.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah,
It was awesome.
that's probably why I do it bankrupt, because you just read them like a library. You treat them like a
He's the way to
library.
sit down there and read everything for free, right?
Well, you can return everything, like buy it, read it. Oh, I'll take my money back, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So,
thank you.
Right?
yeah.
Yeah, that didn't work too good for them. So
No,
you
it did
see,
not.
when I first got back into comics, I did look to buy some Marvel stuff, but other than Spider-Man, it was just stuff that I picked up. I didn't understand what was going on, but this was perfect because I was able to jump on at the story and read through it. Then I continued with the next part was World War Hulk. But then when they went to what's the name of his son? Scar or Sakaar? I forget.
Yeah, something
Oh,
like that.
Sakaar was the planet. Scar, yeah.
Scar, yeah.
I
Scar.
bought that too, and it's really stunk.
Mhm.
It was really bad.
They're not all going to be modern classics.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Some are just modern.
yeah, some are just
Yeah,
modern.
exactly.
All right, Alan, I think we're up to you again, my friend.
Yes. So I'm gonna take a hard left from a lot of the books that we've read. I had to shift over some of my honorable mentions to number three, but my number three will go to an independent book. It's kind of one of my early favorite authors, and it is Black Science by Rick Remender. So my first introduction to Rick Remender was from Uncanny X-Men. So growing up, one of the shows that I really liked watching was Sliders. I don't know if you guys watch Sliders. It's
remember
basically
that.
this guy who gets lost in a
Very
different
subtle,
universe.
right?
He's trying to find his way back to his home universe. Black Science is kind of like that, but with the art by Matteo Scalera and Rick Remender, the way he writes is very page turner, like I mentioned before, super page turner. Like these astronauts are kind of going to different universes, seeing themselves in different like ways the universes have formed. I've read many multiverse storylines in DC and Marvel, but this one, because I guess it's from Image, and Rick Remender was allowed to take more latitude in what he wrote. Like I really thought that this was a really cool book. Obviously, there's a ton of other independent books that are out there that are also modern classics, but to me, this was a really cool one because it took a different take on what was already out there. So that's kind of why I chose Black Science. I don't know. Have you guys read Black Science yet?
No,
I never have, no.
Ellen,
I'm curious.
I didn't
about
read
it.
it.
Now,
I didn't read it, but shout out to your earlier episodes with Johnny, where you
Yes.
guys just like praise this book. So, I mean, how can they look that episode up in your channel? Like, is it like, you remember?
Yeah. Oh no, I'd have to think about that.
Yeah,
I'd have
but
to
you
think
guys had
about
a great
But-
discussion. I think it was just like an independent. But anyway, yeah, that's
Yeah.
the only reason. I mean, it's one of those things. Oh, I'll get to it. Never got to it, but I probably should, because I remember that conversation you and Johnny had about this book.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. Like when you mentioned Donny Cates, Joe, like I think
Yeah.
one of the things that I started to do is once I find someone from a Marvel series, I started trying to follow them in other like independent type of books, right?
Right.
So Donny Cates and his like crossover book, and
Yeah.
Rick Remender with this, or James Tynion and like all of his other books, like Nice House on the Lake, all of those. I kind of just followed
Yeah.
them to different paths.
Yeah, and for those who don't know what I'm talking about, Johnny used to co-host a show with Alan, and
Yes.
you should probably. I miss those shows, man.
Yeah,
bring
I'll
Johnny
restart
back.
those. Yes,
Yeah.
I got to bring Johnny back. He had a
Bring
kid,
Johnny
so
back.
maybe he has time now.
Yeah, so it was like, yeah, so just
Yeah,
in
the
case
two of you
people
together made a really good show.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Thanks.
Yeah,
thanks.
there's one big problem with it. You didn't have a name for it. You know, it was like
I know we didn't
Mr.
have a
Fun
name
in
for it.
comics. You
or
know,
those
know.
by any other name.
yeah, it could have been Alan and Johnny talk comics or something like that.
Yeah. Something.
Alan, I just added that to my cart on Amazon.
There you
Sweet. Thank
Nice,
you.
Dave.
Hopefully it
Remender,
does not
man.
disappoint you.
go. Okay.
Dave
All right.
sneaking on the internet.
Oh,
Mr. Pretty Fly, you're up.
let's look at it.
He
All
says
right,
he has
my-
200 comic books that he wanted to show today.
No,
So-
I picked three like a good boy, Joe.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
so my third, this one's really personal. I don't think it's gonna be a classic, but this book it's like a, Joe bonded over this property, and so did Dave. So if not for this book, I probably wouldn't be good friends with you guys. But the book I'm picking is just the cover.
Just the cover.
Just the cover has Gal Gadot
Gorgeous.
for Joe. No, but
Yes.
just looking at this book, the
Yeah.
whole Snyder thing, because I think a lot of you guys
Like didn't you know he was going to bring this up? Come on.
He knew.
Dave and
Snyder.
I
You know
always
what?
say,
Snyder
no matter
had to
what
make an
show it's
appearance.
on, he's going to bring up Snyder all the time.
Well, it is Snyder Con week,
Give
and I
it
am
up,
wearing a
give it
Snyder
up.
shirt.
Scott
But,
Snyder, Zack Snyder, any Snyder.
But I mean, the director does kind of mean a lot, even way before his DC work. Like I was a fan of his since 300,
Mm.
and I did like a presentation on
His
one
book.
frame of 300, and then that presentation caught the eye of the future Mrs. Fly, because she was
wow.
also in the same. She was in the class, and I did a reference to Sergio Leone, spaghetti western director, and I kind of stole it from her. She was gonna say the same thing, so she actually got mad. But anyway, that just shows you how far back I'm a fan of the Snyder Man.
Yeah.
Cool. But it's this book though, seeing the Justice League, because I remember watching the 2017 movie, and my friend and I went, and afterwards it was a quiet ride home.
Yeah.
After the 2017, I was like, we were trying to look for like ways to like it, and there were some cool parts, and like one of Joe's favorite moments was when Flash kind of like caught Superman's like looking over because he's going
Side
almost
eye.
the same speed.
I love that book. He's
So
like,
there's some
like
good
what?
stuff
So
like,
good.
but we were like, man, it doesn't feel like a Snyder movie though. It's like all the setup from BVS. Where did it go? It's like, but anyway, that's why I kind of picked this book as one of my personal classics.
I love that cover.
That's
Uh,
nice.
Yeah,
it.
and it's also I like it because it kind of reminds me of the Queen video, Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
definitely. Their
I
I
cover.
never thought of that. You're right.
Yeah,
It's very
so
clean.
very
inspired.
Caravaggio kind of
Yeah.
dark.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But yeah, so that's my personal pick because
Very
of how
good.
much the-
Very good. You got to
director
say
means.
Snyder again. You got to
I got my
say
Snyder out. Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I promised I wouldn't
Exactly.
mention Snyder.
Scratch that
Got the
itch.
Snyder
I got
out.
him out of my system.
We knew it was coming.
All right.
It had to. Okay. This one, a personal favorite, one I really like. I don't know if it falls into that category of modern classics, although I think it should be considered there. It features my favorite superhero. He's been my favorite hero since I was a little kid. It's Superman, but it's a
Woo!
really different
Secret
take
identity. Yeah.
on
Busiek.
Superman. It's ironically Kurt Busiek, who wrote this, also wrote JLA Avengers. I don't consider him one of my
Cool.
favorite authors, but he struck gold with this one.
Mhm.
And one thing this has going for it that most comics don't, it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Comics are typically never-ending battles against good and evil. Superman's going to be fighting Lex Luthor, Zod, and Doomsday
Yeah.
until all of us shuffle off this mortal coil by dying. Thanks for laughing. But this tells a completely different story. It's a totality of Superman's life with what I thought was a really clever twist. What if a person named Clark Kent existed in our world as we know it, and he somehow became Superman? So yes, with Superman being a fictional character
Right.
in our world, and it's such a unique and interesting take. And it
Mhm.
has some great moments in it. Superman discovering his powers, meeting the love of his life, who is named Lois, and they're like set up as a joke because his name's Clark Kent and her name's Lois. So her friends thought it'd be funny.
Explorers.
What's that?
After the Explorers, like Lois and Clark.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah.
Not at all.
No, okay. I was trying to
Where's
fuse
the
some
pause
history in there.
No, not at all. No, and it's
Okay.
Superman is dealing with a government who doesn't understand him. They don't know what to make of him. They don't trust him. There's this one scene that's incredible where he's basically taken down by the military and he's detained for a little while, and then he makes this, pretty exciting escape. And also what it's like to be part of a family. You know, he and
Yeah.
Lois, they have a family. They have twins. You know,
Mhm.
and there's a TV show called Superman and Lois. There's
Lois.
sort of mined that concept for a lot of drama, and
Right.
it's a good show on the CW.
Mhm.
So,
It
and
is
I
a good
haven't
show.
even mentioned Stuart Immonen's art, which is really, it's not just gorgeous, it has a different feel to it. So as a Superman fan, I appreciate that we got something different for the character, something that's very well crafted, and something that's very complete. So that's one of the reasons I think this is a great book.
That's
Let's
nice.
check that out.
And see, and don't you see, like this? Again, I'll go back to my Superman is difficult to write for, but whenever you have these kind of, if you want to call them like Elseworld, whatever you want to call them, stories, and you let these writers kind of use their imagination, you end up with great Superman stories. I mean, I think that's really, those are the
Yeah.
best ones, I think.
Yeah, the key to writing Superman that are kind of would become classic is not to make it a physical thing. It's
Right.
not just
Yeah.
like him fighting,
That's an
Doomsday. Make
element,
it like,
but that's not all of it.
yeah, just like underneath, it's like it's all about flaws and it's all about the troubles. Because, I mean, even the reason why I like Lois and the new series, but I have to get back to it.
Thanks,
But it's
Steve.
all about him being about a family man. You know, like no superpower can help you being a dad. There's no
Mhm.
like superpower is not going to help you. I mean,
He makes a lot of mistakes on that story.
yeah, I mean, you might get help the kids get from point A to point B real quick, but that's about it,
Yeah.
So, but even being a Superman is hurting him being a dad, So that's how you have to look at Superman if you want to make a good classic title.
One thing I didn't mention about All Star Superman was something that we had discussed, I think, on Instagram was who's the real person? Is Superman the real person or is Clark Kent the real person? In All Star Superman, I mean, my feeling is, and I think some of my cohorts agree here, is that he's Clark Kent. And he becomes Superman to help people, whatever. But he grew up in Kansas on the farm with the Kents, who put kind of middle America values on him. And that's who he really is.
Yeah.
And it comes across in the Superman persona as well, but he's Clark, And one of the things that came out in All Star Superman was the feeling that both Superman and Clark are kind of disguises for him, but what's inside of him is the Clark Kent persona,
Yeah.
So and everything, and I think that's what you're talking about, Pretty Fly, is that you got to really have something about
go
the
deeper.
person.
Yeah.
And Superman gives you the action, but you need that personal stuff in there because that's what makes a good Superman story.
And I'll add to that, Joe. Like even if you read something like Red Sun, where Superman like completely like lands like in the opposite side of the country,
he's a fascist.
Different philosophies. Yeah, you could say that but he was also like someone who likes to serve. You got to see that in that book because that's like an innate thing that Superman does. Whether he's under different philosophy or ideology, he's still Superman.
Even though he was raised by Joseph Stalin, you still saw some of those qualities in him.
Now, listen, guys, this was going to be our DC Watch show. Like
there you go.
You're the one who brought it up, Joe. That's on you, buddy.
Anymore, I know.
Actually, Joe, I was going to pitch to do an episode about identities.
Maybe we can still do that.
We can still do
We got to get through the one we're planning right now first.
Who's up next? Matt's up. Matt, take it away.
Dave had such a cool book because it talks about the history of a character. I mean, it was definitely involved in it. And it pulls a little bit on the heartstrings. That's what makes that story a good one. And leading into this story, this is Captain America number 6, I think from 2005.
Right.
And this is a variant cover, the one with the Winter Soldier on it. There's another cover where Captain America is. It's pretty much the same cover, but it's Captain America where Winter Soldier is. But the Winter Soldier, what makes this so cool is that Bucky has been dead for literally over 60 years, in comics. And in fact, for years and years, there was an old saying, like, nobody stays dead in comics except for Bucky, and
Uncle Ben.
Sidekick.
And Uncle Ben, right.
And so far, Alfred.
Yeah, Alfred.
needs
Yeah,
a change.
unfortunately, we do need Alfred to come back.
We do.
But Bucky was Captain America's sidekick in the Golden Age whenever Captain America was fighting the Nazis in pretty much every issue. And whenever they brought him back, you know, a lot of times in comics, I don't like how they bring characters back. Sometimes I don't even like the fact that they bring them back. But let's be honest, cool characters are cool characters. It's fiction. They're going to bring them back. But this was a way, like, you know, what else were they going to do? He was suspended in ice for years and years and then rediscovered. And oh, wait, they already did that. Okay.
Right.
You know, that's how Captain America went away and came back. But whenever they brought Bucky back and he was, you know, brainwashed by Hydra to fight on the side of Hydra, and he, you know, the whole storyline of how Bucky, who is one of the most beloved characters in comics, became a villain. But then, like every good character out there, they are nuanced. They have, you know, ulterior motives, and they finally got to him where, you know, he became a good guy. And a lot of people wanted him to take over the Captain America mantle. But you know what? The Falcon has been sidekick for Captain America for a lot more years than Bucky. So I was glad to see that. But at the same time, you know, what an amazing character. What an amazing story. I actually think this one has a little bit of staying power, you know, going forward, because I think this is another character I truly think is going to be a mainstay in comics, because he's a mainstay in the MCU right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Great choice.
Well, that's a good, very good.
That's a
Very
good pick.
Yeah.
We're getting close to the pumpkin time, but
We are.
I guess I'll try to get through this one quickly. So my last one is more of kind of I think it's more of a personal classic, but I do think if you really think about it and take a look at it, it can be a classic. I don't know how many people recognize it, but this is it here.
Oh,
Black Mirror.
Great story.
It's a tremendous story. And if you haven't read this, it's 11 issues completely, although the Black Mirror is only 3. But it basically, you know, the New 52 had a lot of bad things going for it, but one of the best things was Batman, you know, and all that the people did with Batman. And Snyder and Capullo did a tremendous job on this. And one of the things that was, I was going to do the Grant Morrison, you know, like,
Batman Incorporated.
Batman, yeah, Dick Grayson is Batman and Damian and stuff like that. But to me, although that was kind of a good story, I don't know that it really rises to the level. There's some good things about that rise to the level as a modern classic. But this one, I mean, it just is like, to me, the entire series where you go through the Black Mirror, I wrote them down so I forget, Skeleton Cases, Lost Boys, Hungry City, The Dark Architect, and The Face in the Glass. Each one of these were like maybe 2 or 3 issues throughout those 11. It is Batman, although it's Dick Grayson, and he has his own issues, right? Because he's Dick Grayson. But you have Commissioner Gordon. You have his daughter as Oracle. You have his son is involved with this. The Joker's involved with this. You have some other evildoers involved. But it's Batman as the detective. It's a detective story throughout. It's just an amazing story, and the different stories are connected, all right? Because you see little pieces of each of the story, like the last part, coming together in each one of the prior stories. It was just so well done, so well written. And I just, as I was reading it, I reread it, you know, just for this, and I was intrigued again. I was reading through it again.
Wow. Nice.
Boy, this is better than I remember it to be. And it's just like, I mean, if you made it into a prose of some kind, it would be a just tremendous detective, you know, book, detective story. And to me, it's called The Black Mirror in general, although it's, like I said, it's a bunch of different things, but it's just an amazing story. It is Jock and Francavilla are the people that drew it. I love Jock especially, and it's just it's Detective Comics 871 to 877. You can get it in a trade right now,
Mhm.
I would say go out and get it because it's
Yeah.
one of those Batman stories that just like Court of Owls, it's one of those fantastic Batman stories that'll just be, just be there all the time. Matter of fact, if you want to do if you want to do a Batman movie, they should do something like that. I mean, they could put
They
Bruce
could.
Wayne there, instead.
Yeah.
But it's just stories, just feels fantastic, so fantastic.
Agreed.
Don't forget Gordon Jr.
Yeah.
Well, I,
That's
Oh,
I did say his son was in there. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Oh, you did? But
Yeah.
man,
yeah.
Gordon Jr. as Dick Grayson Batman's Joker, essentially, like
Yeah,
he's like
pretty much.
he's it's just, oh man, yeah, I remember. He's like, he stabbed like Barbara's leg, but not knowing she was paralyzed with a leg down.
oh
Yeah, I know.
man.
Sorry, spoiler,
Really
but
weird.
read it because it really goes like
Really good story.
he's really demented, yeah. And and what I love about it is that when you wear that bat cowl, that's when, for some reason, that cowl attracts villains. Because Deathstroke with the Teen Titans, I mean, that's one of like Dick Grayson's more formidable enemies, right? But
Yes,
this has became personal. It's like he has and it's all because you wore that cowl. So I think that's what's so cool about it. But yeah, anyway, I'm glad you brought that up because Black Mirror is a really good.
It is one of the
You guys
best
check it out.
Batman
Story.
stories.
That's awesome.
Really
Yes,
good. It's a great choice. Great choice, Joe.
So let's see the score here. According to Mark Andrews, DC 9.5, Marvel 4.5, other 1. And that's the way it should be, Mark. I mean, that's just the reality.
You know what? Let me add another on that one. Can I make it Can I add another one just to kind of like
We have
spice it up
3
for me?
minutes.
I have
Go ahead,
another
Andrew,
8.
pump it.
All right, just
Real quick. Saga.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's fine
There you go.
too.
yeah,
That's awesome.
Bright Cave One, but yeah, when I saw this cover, I'm like, again, when I was coming back to comics, like these are comics now, but then like it, and I bought it because like, oh, I wonder if it's gonna take off like that. I wonder if it's gonna be the next Walking Dead. But
It is.
Hey, Joe.
but,
What do you think if we all, because a lot of us had a hard time choosing. There are a lot of
Right.
great comic runs and books that we love. What if we either messaged you and we put it in the description, like we list,
Sure.
Alan's honorable mentions, Dave's, something like that.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, if you also want to give me the ones that you picked, yeah,
yeah, and you can.
There's isolation for Doug has had to go, but
and
he'll
Joe,
watch it
you
on the
beat me
replay.
to it. You beat me to it, Joe.
I know. I have that at home. I think I have like a couple of copies. I just love that
Well,
cover.
And the reason also, Joe, one more thing. The reason I want to share this because Philtastic made me this.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
that's a fantastic.
Oh, cool.
He asked a long
I
time
love
ago. He asked
that.
me, "What's your favorite comic book cover?" And I told him this, and boom. So Philtastic.
Are those
You're
flies
nice,
coming
dude.
off you?
Nice.
Hold
Yeah.
on, I want to see that one. Hold on a minute there. Where am I?
I mean, I sent him a thank you and all that, but I didn't get
Oh,
a
that's
chance to post it
great.
on Instagram.
That's cool.
But yeah, fly.
That's cool.
That's
And the
really
reason is
cool.
those flies were the bats.
Yeah,
so you
That's
yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
Exactly.
so
yeah.
Jock did a great
Inspiration.
job on that cover.
You did.
Fantastic.
and Phil did.
You did.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Thank you,
they
Phil.
did.
I didn't
Okay.
give you
Well,
get a chance to
we-
publicly
Doc
thank
did
you, so-
almost as well as Phil, the way Alex Ross did almost as well as me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it was a fantastic homage.
Yeah,
So
you're
hopefully,
early.
Phil,
You missed. You missed. You could have won this great mug. Like, or you
Oh,
missed
so
it.
close.
You missed it. Anyway, okay. Well, listen. I think this was a great. Yeah, Phil did kill it. That's right. I think this
He
was a
always
great
does.
episode.
was
I
fun.
mean, I learned about a couple of things that I'm going to have to try to look up
Yeah.
there and so forth.
you got to read
of
that
course,
Superman identity.
that Superman identity one.
Yeah.
I remember, I think I read it a while back, or I read some of it, but I don't remember much about it. But I remember it was really good, so I'm gonna have to pick that one up.
Mhm.
But I think that there's so many to pick from that I think really truly are great stories, and I think can be considered modern classics. And there's a lot of junk out there too. So what we
There
can do to
is.
make your comic reading
is.
life better, more reasonable, and bearable to some extent, that's what the comic book crowd is here to do. So I want to thank Pretty Fly and Dave for joining Alan, Matt, and myself for this month's edition.
It was fun.
Number
Thanks for having us.
18.
Yeah, it was our pleasure.
I have to tell you something. We don't do like weekly things or like bi-weekly things. We're like a monthly comic book, right? So right now it's like you're at the LCS and you picked up this comic book called The Comic Book Crowd, and you had a great time reading.
Yeah,
That's
this is my LCS shop talk. This is
There
what
it
I
is.
equated to.
All right. So I want to thank everybody in the chat that came and went and came back, or that's here right now. Thank you so much. Steve, don't forget to send me your information. I know it's going to Canada, so I have to save up some money before I can send it to you, but I'm going to make sure it gets to you pretty soon. And I appreciate it.
Might be quicker to drive it up there or less expensive.
Yeah.
Right. It probably would. In some ways, you're probably right. All right, guys. So I want to thank everybody for coming again. Take care, and we'll see you soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.